Jim, I asked last week about Tommy playing with one broken hand. I didn't realize that I needed to ask about the other one being broken. The toughness that he's showing, the way he's playing through that, beyond just trying to find ways for him to tackle, the toughness that he's shown, where does that rank among some of the guys you've worked with?
Tommy's as tough as they come, as tough as any player I've been around, and he kind of epitomizes what we want to be as a defense, and I think as a program, because nothing is going to stop him. No matter what the circumstance or the injury, he's going to show up.
Second row right, Doug Lamery, Cleveland.com.
Jim, what do you think of the rivalry?
It's a privilege to be a part of it. When you're a guy who works his way up to get to this spot, there's not time for reflection now. Hopefully someday, but just to be a part of it is, I guess, when you're young and in the profession, you look at it as the pinnacle, of competition, and it's a privilege to be a part of it.
Far right, Adam King, WBNS 10 TV.
Coach, you weren't here last year when all the talk of toughness and finesse hit, but there were a lot of conversations about this defense. How much do you hear that from these guys? How much do you try to, push these guys to lean into that and prove it on Saturday?
I don't hear it. I don't talk about it. Don't really think about it. I know the charge I was given when I got here, and we've taken off from there. And I know that toughness is a pivotal part of everything Coach Day does and Coach Mick does in the weight room. So, I've embraced it, and we're doing everything possible to carry that on defense.
Third row middle, Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
Jim, you've been part of some pretty big rivalries. Bedlam, Bull, Colgate.
Penn is Cornell's rival, not Colgate. Come on. Yeah, Thanksgiving Day, man, for years. Penn. Yeah.
How's this stack up for what you see? I know it's early in the week, and I know you guys don't like to compare, but I'm asking you to do so a little bit. Do they all have the same thread through them, whether it's dislike or guys not getting too emotional? How do you handle that, and what have you seen?
Yeah, there's the same thread through every rivalry I've ever been associated with, of intensity. But this is it's the biggest stage there is. So you just take all that and you ramp it up by 1,000, and you go from there. You do everything you can to stay focused and do your job in the midst of it, because there's a job to do.
Right behind him, Andy Anders, Buckeye Sports Bulletin.
I kind of wanted to ask a little bit about what you see from J.J. McCarthy as far as his mobility. I know Talia had a couple scrambles last week, gave you some issues, kind of first mobile quarterback you've seen since DeWan Finn, and how you kind of intend to keep him hemmed in.
Well, I mean, I think we have a hard-charging, aggressive defensive line, and I think that anytime you have guys who really get after it, scrambling can be an issue. So we continue to work on it, I guess I'll say. We'll keep practicing. That's all. I mean, it's definitely an issue though when you have guys that are going to get after the quarterback, and I'm glad we have them. Now it's my job to fix it.
Second row left, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Whether it was Toledo, to follow up on that, whether it was Toledo, Maryland, even Penn State to a lesser degree, I don't think Clifford traveled that much, but how do you scheme for that when it's an element of a playmaker? He's just a playmaker. You did everything the right way, and then he got loose anyway, and instead of it being a 4-yard loss, it's a 14-yard game. I know you can coach it, how to contain it, but how do you actually scheme for something?
Well, you have different ways to do it. I'm not going to get technical here, but you put some plans together. But ultimately, it does come down to, your athletes versus, their athlete, and you just do everything you can to put guys into position, but it does become like controlled chaos, right? I mean, we try to make all these moves and chess pieces, and we think we're doing a good job of it, but sometimes it's hard to control the uncontrollable. So you give your guys the best shot, and then it's a matchup, and you go from there.
Fourth row right, Bill Bender, the Morning News.
I think you kind of answered it with the last question, but what does their rushing attack pose the biggest challenge for you guys in preparing for, and in all these years you've done this? Is there another team who, I'm thinking like Kansas State or something, where you played them and it was really difficult to prepare for the way that they run the football?
Yeah, Kansas State in the Big 12. I certainly at Duke lived my share of option football with Army, Navy, and Georgia Tech, and it's difficult to simulate, the way that they run the ball. So you just got to go back to your habits and your training. You got, again, put guys in great position. Make sure everybody knows that everybody has to tackle. I think that's a mentality that goes, everybody has to tackle, because they're going to put corner, safety, anybody, they're going to put different people into position where you have to make the tackle. So it's really a mentality. You scheme against it some, difficult to practice. It's just a matter of habits and everything you've worked for to this point, in all your strength training and all of, the extra work you did over the summer. That all comes into play when push comes to shove.
Deep right, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Jim, they run the ball a lot, obviously, but they also throw the ball to running backs out of the field,
Excuse me.
tight ends, get you in different matchups. How do you balance knowing how much you have to stop the run, with also understanding that out of the backfield they can really do some damage?
Yeah, well, they're a complete offense, and they challenge you in a lot of different ways. So, you have to have some different things that you can go to at different times to try to keep the offense off balance. That's really the only way to answer the question is, those points that you mentioned, the things that they do, and they do it well. You just got to counterattack, and that's what we've been working on all year.
Second row right, Bill Landis, The Athletic.
Jim,
Rivals.
You said maybe back in the spring that the jack position, Leo position, was first conceived as more of a run game disruptor than anything else. Does this game put that position in more of a spotlight, with as much as Michigan likes to use pullers in its run game?
Yeah, I definitely feel that it is a tool, in our toolbox to be able to handle all the different things that an offense like this throws at you, and it's definitely a fix-it tool for us, and we've worked hard to get it ready.
Front row middle, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
When you came here and we asked if you had watched tape of players, you said no, everything's a blank slate. How much did you study last year's Michigan game? And is there a way to quantify how much time you've put into preparing for this game?
I haven't put any time into last year's game, and there's no way to quantify the time that's gone into the preparation. It's just constant.
Right behind him, Nathan Barrett, Cleveland.com.
Just stepping back to last week, and I know that Maryland's offense and Michigan's offense very different, but the defense allowed 2 75-yard touchdown drives in the second half, but also kind of made some key stops. Just how did you evaluate that performance relative to how you feel this defense is sort of ready for this moment?
I thought it was great when we made key stops and plays, and I thought it sucked when we didn't. That's it's like man, that but the good part about it is, you're right. We were off on some things. And, you know, I see it, we all see it, and we know we have to get better. But the good part is I think the competitive excellence that Coach always talks about, and the defense has developed that in key situations this year. We have not been perfect. I think we've trended upwards, but when the times have come that we needed to make plays, we have. So I think that's a good sign.
Front row, middle, Joey Coffin, Columbus Dispatch.
Jim, considering you were hired just a couple weeks after a loss to Michigan, in a loss where you guys gave up 42 points, what sort of, I guess, personal stakes, weight on your shoulders do you feel just going into this game for the first time?
You know, the job is the job. It's like I've said before, the process for me is the same. It's just that the expectations are different, you know. So you keep your process and your habits intact because that's what leads you to success. But yeah, I mean, you'd have to be numb not to feel it. You feel it, you know, but you stay focused on the moment and what can I do to give us an advantage? That's really the only thing that's always on my mind, right? And for me to feel this or feel that, or it doesn't give me any advantage, you know. So I want to always be pressing to find ways to give our defense an advantage.
Right next door, Tim May, Letterman Row.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. Jim, I'm just wondering, number one, are you perusing everything? Are you and your staff perusing everything to try to find out is Blake Corum going to play or not? He is a special player. You understand? And then past that, his ability to hit the bounce to the outside, I think, really sets him apart. I mean, he's tough and everything else, but what is the key to not getting burned by that? I mean, is it eye control, discipline, whatever? But in a game of this magnitude, how do you keep everybody from running to the fire, if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. First question, we're not spending any time investigating whether he's playing or not, just assuming he's going to play. He's an exceptional back, like you said, very talented. And, yeah, it has a lot to do with discipline, you know, and understanding angles and taking your shot when you have it, but on the appropriate angle, and playing hard within the scheme. So a lot to do with discipline, because if you're out of place, he'll make you pay for it.
And final questions, fourth row right, Tony Gerben, Buckeye Huddle.
You said, what can you do to give the guys an advantage? It's always the thing that's always on your mind. Where's the most random place where it's been on your mind and you're like, oh, this might do something, like at home, out, like, how often does it come up?
It's never not on my mind, ever.
Thank you very much.